a decolonial statement on these raids and false borders, put together by Poor Magazine and other local organizations. So I'm going to hand it off to Tiny from Poor Magazine.
So as poor people, as disabled people, as houseless and bordered folks, ourselves from all different corners of Mama Earth, we're putting out a decolonial message about these borders and these raids where they're putting children in cages and killing our families behind the lie of colonial borders. Specifically, we did this today because this is the day that Trump and his administration said that there will be raids in the Bay Area and beyond. Raids. So that's a word, right? That's a word, but what does that word really mean? That means the destruction, incarceration, and death of poor people, of poor homeless people who happen to be from the other side of this colonial border called Americland, Southern and Central Turtle Island, which actually the Americas are no different, no matter which side of the border you're from. And one of our messages today is, how can you steal children from a land that you don't own? How can you incarcerate babies when you're on stolen land? So we're specifically bringing this out today as a resistance to this ongoing incarceration, death, and destruction being done behind the notion of the owning of Mama Earth, which now indigenous peoples believe there is no ownership of Mama Earth. In our lifeways, in our ancient lifeways, no indigenous peoples ever laid claim to Mama Earth. They stewarded. In that same concept, they've created these borders, and behind that lie, they are incarcerating and killing poor children, poor families, elders, workers, and people just like us. So we are connected, whether there's a false border in the middle of us or not. So we're going to all read a little bit of this joint statement. This belongs to all of us. I do want to say, just in advance, that the people who signed on to the statement is Indian Peoples Organizing for Change, our sister Karina and the Ohlone Lashawn Nation, or the First Nation of this peoples in Oakland, San Francisco, San Mateo, and beyond. It's a very important part of this whole process. As well, Crip-Hop Nation, Black disabled folks from all across Mama Earth. And we'll be hearing from them today as well. Anti-Police Terror Project, Justice Teams Network, Western Regional Advocacy, which are a homeless-led organization, East Bay Permanent Real Estate, Gay Shame, Families with the Future, Do No Harm, and Idris Stelly Foundation. And that's just to name a few. So we're going to read some statement. All of us poor people, all of us have been houseless or formerly houseless. All of us have been bordered or incarcerated. So we are in connection with our brothers and sisters. Start with Brother Zaire. One of our youth scholars.
Come on, Brother Zaire.
My name is Zaire, and I'm going to be reading this today. The following is a joint statement against the incarceration, detention, and raids on indigenous refugees from Central and Southern Turtle Island and all of Mother Earth by the Black, Brown, Indigenous, homeless, disabled people led in international and local movements, organizations listed below.
We are a collection of multi-nation, thank you brother, multi-generational indigenous Black, brown, and landless, homeless, poor, and disabled people-led movements and organizations who resists the nation that any entity owns Mama Earth through settler colonizers created paper, including treaties, grant deeds, laws, or borders, and that this perceived ownership leads to causes the continued incarceration, profiling, terror, murder, and death of children, families, elders, and communities from all across Mama Earth.
As well, this statement is invoking UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, lifting up Articles 10, 11, 13, and 27 that states the multiple rights of all Indigenous people.
To cross settler colonial created borders due to poverty was violence, work, ceremony, or other needs without commercialization, harassment, encouragement, or abuse.
This statement is also invoking the Hoarded Mama Earth Research Report and Poverty Scholarship, Poor People's Led Theory, Art and Words, and Tears Across Mother Earth, created by disabled, homeless, and formerly homeless youth and families who have been incarcerated, police harassed, murdered, removed and displaced from violence. Removed and displaced from the violence of historical and present colonial laws.
Colonial laws, land, resource theft, and institutions that dictate and inform the same systems that are threatening, detaining, and incarcerating Indigenous refugees from all four corners of Mama Earth.
The youth and family who created Poverty Scholarship textbook and the Hoarded Mama Earth report are students, residents of the Colonized Academy, a liberation school of homefulness, which lift up the belief practices of the landless people's movement called homefulness, and is informed by Corlett, the Lashan Ohlone First Nation people of Oakland, has officially unsold Mama Earth named the land sanctuary for all homeless and landless people, for the joint protection, housing, healing ceremony, indigenous or black and brown homeless youth, elders, and families in these occupied Para Ohlone Lashan territory. And it is a sanctuary. We want to say we are right here in Oakland, in East Oakland, and I want to say, thank you for being here, and it's a blessing to be here and not in there, in those detention centers. As someone who, my own family relative, my brother, was taken before too by detention centers. We didn't know about his whereabouts for months until we find out later that he was in Arizona. And again, it's sad how more and more we see these detention centers profiting off of our people. They're literally capturing, putting our people in cages before they even build the actual structures of these detention centers. It's a shame. It's a shame what's happening, the terror, the rape, the violation of children, undocumented children. So yes, stand with us in speaking against this abuse of migrante people, of our families being separated and not even know where their whereabouts. And we're also calling now that it's not only happening here in America, but it's also happening to our brothers and sisters right there in the border of Mexico and Guatemala. A lot of our Central American brothers and sisters are being detained there, and also Haitians, brothers, folks from the Dominican Republic who are coming through that route to try and reach the American dream, the so-called American dream. And hopefully later I want to share a spoken word, little poetry deed. Yes, that's all I need to say before I go on and get pissed off and start yelling and screaming. Thank you.
Every right to. So we're going to hear from the youth scholars on the Hoarded Mama Earth Report. I do want to explain again that behind this notion that we practice at Homefulness, no one owns Mama Earth. We are following the ancient lifeways of our indigenous ancestors. If people stopped claiming ownership, this colonial project of stealing children from indigenous sides of these false borders would stop.
Yes.
So let's hear from the youth scholars who created this work themselves.